رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. طيب, today inshallah without any delay we will start after the introduction. Again, just to put things in perspective quickly, Surah Ali Imran, half of it is education of Muslims and empowerment to be able to refute and debate all the arguments that are used to shake their beliefs, and strengthen, and also to strengthen their unity and their taqwa. And it's like the main theme of the Quran is basically building and shaping up the individual and the community for the mission. So telling them about their environment and the challenges that they face and how to engage their environment, what they should be aware of, etc. If you can mute everybody because there is some background noise. So this is the theme of the Quran in general. Again, Quran is Tawheed, mission, maqasid, and it's all about tazkiyah and preparation. It's about all making you understand your mission and making you understand the expectations and then the profile that you have to try to match, and things that you need to be aware of, inspiring, empowering. That's what the Quran is all about. That's why when Muslims abandon their mission, the Quran is no longer playing its role. Because Quran, when Muslims took the Tawheed for granted, rather than seeing it as a process, lifelong process of building and nurturing and strengthening and reinforcing your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and without any ceiling, you just keep getting closer and closer to Allah until you meet him, and make that relationship more vibrant and stronger until you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No Muslim understood Tawheed as one-time decision. And I ashhadu an la ilaha illallah and I have Tawheed. So drop that, you drop the mission and the goals. Quran is no longer has any role to play. There is no role to play because Quran is meant to build that Tawheed and that individual for that mission and clarify, tell you the expectation. If you're taking all of this for granted, or you abandon it, then you will be reading the Quran, but you're not getting anything, or you will not get much. One, Quran has a style, as we I think we dedicated several khutbah for the style of the Quran. Quran has a style, different styles. One thing about the Quran is that there is a text and there is a message. So you have to read the text and try to extract the message. The message sometimes is not very explicit. So you should not be carried away with the scene. For example, Quran uses stories of the people and nations and prophets before us. That's the vehicle. That's the vehicle through which Quran is communicating to you messages. It may use sometimes the universe, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, use scenes from the Day of Judgment. All of these are the background, the vehicle. But there are messages that are conveyed through this. So make sure that when you recite the Quran, you recite the text, but you try to extract the messages. So the first part was mainly about this. I cannot say a surah or a verse is about this. It's mainly about this because Quran it's all integrated. You can see talking about aqeedah and then talking about interaction and then finances and then zakat, and then because it has that holistic approach. It's very integrated package, Quran, Islam. So that's why you see these things sometimes intertwined, talking about preparing Muslims for the challenges that they're facing, They may be military attack that they may be facing, at the same time talking to them about taqwa and brotherhood and staying away from riba and etc. Because all of this is under inspiring and empowering. Second part of Surah Ali Imran is mainly, and that first part showed us how much challenges Muslims faced in Medina, especially in those early years. So much doubts, so much attacks and accusations and intimidation, and so that's this emphasis of Quran on these issues. If they ask, that's how you should answer, and be aware of this and that, etc. That tells you how hostile the environment in which this movement was built and succeeded and thrived. And by the way, it thrived through human efforts, no miracles. Rasul ﷺ did not succeed, did not build the most successful and effective movement of change in history through miracles. No, through a model. There is a model that we have to understand, and how you can join the hearts of people on a common cause, on brotherhood and unity of purpose and leadership and dream. As I say all the time, Rasul ﷺ injected in the companions from day one, from in Mecca. He was mainly injecting and rooting these two dreams. One is to meet Allah while He's pleased with you. That's the dream that keeps you going, even when you are exhausted and even in the face of all adversity. And two is to see to it that the purpose of Allah is fulfilled on earth, that this world is more just, more peaceful, more secure, more prosperous, more virtue, etc. That's what were in the minds of the companion. These are two big dreams that can give you an unlimited amount of energy and inspiration. The second part of they were motivated by these dreams, and there were a model of building and leading a community. There is a prophetic model, and I'm a firm believer of this fact, that there is a prophetic model that we have to understand and try to simulate, not duplicate, because you cannot duplicate exactly a model in a different context, but you can simulate it. Second part, and speaking about the model, the second part of the surah, this chapter, is about the Battle of Uhud. Battle of Uhud is one of the most important turning points in the seerah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not because of what happened, it was one day, and probably less even, but because of the lessons, that were emphasized, and how much learning Muslims had to go through, learning by actual events and incident. It's not just the theoretical learning. It is an amazing, as usual, Quran, Muslims go through one of those incidents, and then Quran is revealed to tell them what went wrong, what went right, what are the lessons learned, because that's how you improve in your individual life and community life. Anything improves through that process of evaluation, learning lessons, move on, so that you don't repeat mistakes, so that you don't you don't drift into the blame game, finding somebody to blame, finding excuses for your failure. We'll see how the Quranic methodology is very simple. قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. And I don't know why Muslims did not get it, even though it was mentioned a few times in Quran, this principle that if something goes wrong in your life, you have only yourself to blame. That's a very fundamental principle that was not there before this battle, because Muslims were wandering, companions were wandering, and some of them may have asked, and others may have it in their hearts. How come we are Muslims and we were defeated? Which means that there was some misconception before that because we are Muslims, then we have it made. So we can do without planning, we can proceed in a very haphazard way, and we get it made. No, there is nowhere in Quran this is it. If it's going to happen, it would have happened to the Prophet ﷺ and to that community. Even that community, that prophetic community, paid the price for violating rules. There is no, I don't know why we, until now, we're still using those very, very ineffective approaches that lead only to perpetuating failure, which is denial, excuses, scapegoating or blame game, finding somebody to blame your failure on, patchwork, never assessment and evaluation and learning lessons. That's why you see mistakes are being repeated all the time. This is one of those incidents, like we'll see in Surah Al-Anfal about the Battle of Badr. We'll see in Surah An-Nur about the Hadithat al-Ifk, when the wife of the Prophet ﷺ was accused of a heinous accusation. Same thing, Quran will be revealed to give you, to make you see yourself in the mirror and to understand what went wrong and why. And then Battle of Ahzab, etc. And several major incidents in the history in the Sirah of Rasul ﷺ were covered by Quran this way. The Quran will be revealed because that's the teaching part. There is theoretical, it's like a lecture and lab. There is theoretical teaching, which is Quran is revealed, you go to study it and understand it. But there are real life experience that can teach you also lessons that you will not get them, you will not get them theoretically. طيب. And I made the introduction last time, Battle of Uhud, in very simple, in a nutshell. It came to the attention of the Prophet ﷺ, the companion in Medina, that the people of Quraysh has assembled an army, and they already left Mecca. They are in their way to the Medina. So Rasul ﷺ gathered the companions. What should we do? Which strategy is better? Should we go out and meet them outside the Medina, or should we wait for them and street fight in the Medina? After a debate, majority, especially young people, especially those who did not participate in Badr, they said in the Battle of Badr, they said, no, we want to go out. That's we're not coward to wait for them in Medina. They went out. Rasul ﷺ appointed what do you call those? The Rumat? What do you call a Rumat?
What is that question again, Dr. Anushi?
Rumat, the Sahm, Yarmu.
The arrows?
The archery force.
Yeah, the archery force. Those who were assigned to protect the back of the Muslim army. And the Rasul ﷺ was so explicit about this, so clear. Told them, regardless of the outcome, if you see us winning and completely finishing them off, you don't come out, you don't leave your positions. And if you see them finishing us off completely, you don't leave your positions. Stay there, because that's protecting their back. So what happened is, first part of the battle, Muslims were victorious. And then, of course, these are poor people, human being. Companions are a human being. Any attempt to make them superhuman is wrong. They're a human being. It is their commitment to this deen and how serious they took it and how well they understood it. That's what transformed them. but they were still human being. So they saw that the battle is over. So they start coming, leaving their position from the mountain, fearing that they will lose their part of the spoils of the war, ghanayim. When that happened, Khalid ibn Walid, who is a very smart military leader, general, he saw that. So he went and took advantage of this and attacked Muslims from the back, and Muslims were sandwiched in between. So the people of Quraysh who were leaving, fleeing the battlefield, they were coming back, and it was a disaster. Many great companions died, including Hamza, including Mus'ab ibn Umair. So it was very painful for Muslims. And of course, Rasul himself was about to be killed and was hurt big time. And the companions were throwing themselves, their bodies to protect Rasul. It was a very chaotic situation. And then when the news that Prophet Muhammad died came out, Muslims were confused even more. Some people said, so what, why you are fighting? Basically it's over. And some were, had the proper understanding that basically we're fighting for a cause. And we'll see how Quran will be revealed to tell them that Muhammad al-Rasul. And you're not fighting for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're fighting for a cause, for Allah and for his cause. So later on, the mushrikeen of Quraysh, after leaving, it came to they start discussing, say, we didn't finish the job, so why don't we go back and finish them off? Of course, companions were in terrible situation. I think 70 people died, and that's a large number at that time, and so many are badly wounded, and etc. So Rasul Sallallahu as a great leader as he is, even in that situation, is still exercising leadership and proactive and intelligence and human. So he called for people to be ready, for his people to be ready, because it's not, I mean, to be ready for the worst case scenario, that these people may be coming back, because that's what came to their attention. And then Rasul Sallallahu used a very smart idea, very smart approach. He found somebody who embraced Islam but was not known to be Muslim. And this man offered his help, and the Rasul ﷺ found the best way to help is to go and to tell people of Quraysh, basically scare them, that Muhammad ﷺ is coming after you with an army, etc. So you'd better leave with that half victory or incomplete victory. It's better for you, and it happened. It worked. So that's the situation. That's the situation. The seerah of Rasul Sallallahu, the best approach to it is to minimize the time you spend on incident and maximize the time we spend on lessons, because that's what matters. Unfortunately, a lot of books of seerah, they do exactly the opposite. They keep dwelling into details, who died and whether, and the timing and this and that, all details that are not useful at all for us. So it starts from verse 121. وَإِذْ غَدَوْتَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ تُبَوِّئُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مَقَاعِدَ لِلْقِتَالِ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ إِذْ هَمَّ الطَّائِفَتَانِ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ تَفْشَلَ. This was revealed after the battle. إِذْ هَمَّ الطَّائِفَتَانِ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ تَفْشَلَ وَاللَّهُ وَلِيُّهُمَا وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. The Quran starts by telling Rasul Sallallahu basically what happened. First, it was very descriptive. It's what happened. وَإِذْ غَدَوْتَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ. Prophet, remember when you left your home at dawn to assign battle positions, to the believers. Allah hears and knows everything. So basically, we're talking about what happened. وَإِذْ غَدَوْتَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ تَبَوَّأَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مَقَاعِدَ Allahu Sami'un Alim. Again, always Quran, in every verse almost there is some injection of Tawheed. Allahu Sami'un Alim, that's Tawheed. Names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's Tawheed. إذ هم الطائفتان منكم أن تفشل والله وليهما وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. In their way to the battlefield, leaving the Medina, first of all, the leader of the hypocrite, Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, took 1/3 of the army and went back to Medina, while using very silly excuses. Was it bad? Was major blow. But overall, it is good. Why overall it is good? We're building a community for a big mission, to face big challenges. You don't want it to be a mixed bag. You don't want to be infiltrated by hypocrites, by people who are basically spies or no. So when it was clear, that was the first gain from the Battle of Uhud, was even before it happened, that sorting the army, sorting the ranks of Muslims. It's verse 121. Verse 121, Surah chapter 3. So when he did that, two groups of Muslims were about to follow him, Banu Haritha and Banu Salama. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that protected them and strengthened them, and then they continued. Remember when two groups of you were about to lose heart, and Allah protected them. Let the believers put their trust in Allah. So it's not easy. I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge in life. I mean, when people are putting their lives on the line. So they were about to lose heart. Allah strengthened them, protected them. And again, another good injection of Tawheed. That's a concept, that's a major concept of Tawheed. Allah Sami'un Alim in the first verse, just to remind you, and then وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. All of this is inspiring and empowerment. When you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears and sees everything you do, again, as I always say, this should produce in you two effects. One is to be motivated to do your best, because Allah is seeing and watching and hearing. And second is to be shameful or ashamed from doing anything that is not appropriate, because Allah is watching and hearing. وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَ, and then here is tawakkul is a major concept in Tawheed. I mean, if you're talking about your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you want to put some pillars to it, and I always believe that love and gratitude are the most important foundations of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but tawakkul also comes at that level. Yeah. Tawakkul, which is putting your trust in Allah, it's a major pillar of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ وَأَنْتُمْ أَذِلَّةٌ. Why this? Keep in mind, Quran, even though it did not say, Quran is answering a question that Muslims had at that time. The question was, why? Why this has happened to us? Why? How come Muslims are defeated or lose a battle by mushrikeen? Major question in the minds of Muslims. It seems that a couple of things. One is that they were under the impression that because they are Muslims, then they got it made, and that has to be corrected, because that's the wrong concept of tawakkul. And amazingly here, it starts with tawakkul. First thing, that yes, but the right tawakkul, not the wrong one. You put your trust in Allah, but after you do your homework, You do everything you can, not before that. So emphasizing that tawakkul is right, is needed, but it's the right one, not the one that makes you take things for granted or become complacent. No. So it seems that Muslims had this impression, which probably was reinforced by their victory in Badr. Victory in Badr, because as we'll see in Surah Al-Anfal, Quran was revealed to tell them that angels were fighting with them. So if the angels are going to fight with us all the time, so we're going to be victorious all the time. And we'll see how Quran answered most of the verses that we're going to recite today and discuss are answers to are in answering this question: why this has happened to us? How come we Muslims and we get defeated? وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ وَأَنْتُمْ أَذِلَّةٌ. First thing is eliminating. Never think that Allah let you down, because just remember Badr. Allah, وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ وَأَنْتُمْ أَذِلَّةٌ. It's just to tell them, and then it's going to be reinforced by the next couple of verses, that the help of Allah is there, still there. Allah did not let you down. Nothing has changed. You just did not meet the requirement. You were not qualified, or you failed to fulfill your part. That's why you didn't get it. وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ. Remember, no, Allah helped you at Badr when you were very weak. It's telling them that this is still there. Nothing has changed. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Be mindful of Allah so that you may be grateful. So the help of Allah is there, but your part, focus on your part. So it's going to take them gradually until it's going to say it explicitly, that this failure was, you have only yourself to blame for it. وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ وَأَنْتُمْ أَذِلَّةٌ فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And before that comes وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. It's telling them basically, rule this out. The idea that Allah let you down, or Allah's support or help is not reliable, or is not guaranteed. No. It's still there. It happened in Badr. It's still there. تقول للمؤمنين ألن يكفيكم أن يمدكم ربكم ب3,000 من الملائكة منزلين. Remember when you said to the believers, will you be satisfied if your Lord reinforces you by sending down 3,000 angels? بلى إن تصبروا وتتقوا. Under taqwa, you can put everything as that is part of your duties, because taqwa is very, very loaded word. If you want to do real taqwa, included in the taqwa is the planning. Including in taqwa is perfect what you're doing. Including, because that's what Allah loves. Taqwa is doing what Allah loves. Allah loves you to perfect your roles, to fulfill your roles in the best possible way, to perfect everything you do, to excel, to plan, etc. So, بَلَا إِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا, meaning that whenever you fulfill your part, وَيَأْتُوكُم مِّن فَوْرِهِمْ هَذَا, and they come and they attack you now. Maybe the translation is better. Will you, if you are steadfast and mindful of Allah. Just remember that these people master the Arabic language. Yeah. They play with it. So I'm sure they understood, when they read this, they understood this idea that if you do your part, if you fulfill your part, بَلَا إِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا وَيَأْتُوكُم مِّن فَوْرِهِمْ هَذَا. Your Lord will reinforce you with 5,000 swooping angels if the enemy should suddenly attack you. So the help, it's telling them in different ways that Allah did not let you down. Allah will never let you down. The help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still there. The one that you got it in Badr, but we're gonna tell you why you didn't get it this time. But it's not because of that. You were not defeated. You did not lose the battle because Allah let you down, or because of Allah did not know. So the question would be, so why? That's what's gonna come. And then look at the principles. First of all, this is one major concept that was reinforced once and for all, that the help of Allah has been there, will always be there. So if you fail, don't blame it. It's not because Allah let you down. We're gonna tell you why, but it's not because of that. So let's rule out this. And then what? وَمَا جَعَلَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بُشْرَ لَكُمْ. Look at the very, very brilliant ways of reinforcing Tawheed, that even those angels, they were not the reason for victory. And Allah does not need angels to make you victorious. These are just the means. وَمَا جَعَلَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بُشْرَ لَكُمْ وَلِتَطْمَئِنَّ قُلُوبُكُمْ بِهِ وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. That's another principle. وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَكِيمِ. How much is loaded, injected in one verse. And Allah arranged it so as a message of hope for you, believers, to put your hearts at rest. And the support of angels was not needed. That's not the reason for victory. So the reason for failure is not because Allah let you down. And just remember the angels, and even those angels, they're not the reason for victory. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ مَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Exclusively, victory comes from Allah. But the way you seek victory and help from Allah is by doing everything in your hand, everything you can, and do it right. And then if your efforts fall short, Allah will take care of the rest, but not before that. And that's a major idea in Islam that we're still missing. It's a little bit delicate, that tawakkul is very important, but it can easily be misimplemented. Tawakkul is when you are planning, you do it as if you are relying totally on yourself and on your plans. And when you do everything you can and you fall short, you switch to rely completely on Allah as if you had no plans. It's a very delicate equation. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, of course, mastered it. When he did it in Hijrah, he planned everything. Migration, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam planned everything, every details. And I wish we plan our life and in our community like the Prophet has planned his migration. He did not leave anything. I mean, took care of all details. And then part of that was to go in the wrong direction and to stay in the cave for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks until Quraysh will give up, and then the guide they hire will lead them in the right direction. So what happened is Quraysh, they managed to get to the cave. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there is nothing more he can do. Then he switched. Then he made that switch. Even Abu Bakr Siddiq he was worried. But Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made that switch when he said, "Ma baluka bithnayni Allahu thalitha. La tahzan, inna Allaha ma'an." Khalas, the planning is gone. We fell short. They were able to locate us. So he put all his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very component. Same thing with Musa alayhi salam. The army of Pharaoh or was very getting closer and closer, and there is the Red Sea. So, so the people of Musa said, "That's it. And it's over." كلا إن معي ربي سيهدين. كلا إن معي ربي. No, Allah will make a way out for us from this impasse or this crisis. So that angels, just for you to, like, for the morale, good for the, but victory comes from Allah. And just to tell you how important this principle is, some Muslims, they have failed this test several years later. ويوم حنين إذا أعجبتكم كثرتكم. The battle of Hunayn, which happened several years later, some Muslims, they said, today we're gonna win the battle because we have large numbers. They forgot that وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا وَيَوْمَ فَلَمْ تُغْنِ عَنْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ شَيْئًا. Oh, you're gonna rely on your you rely on your numbers, you rely on your tools. That was the wrong implementation. That's not the wrong implementation. There was no tawakkul at all. It's people relying on, it is you plan as if you are relying on your plans, and then when you exhaust all the means and you do everything in your hand, and then you rely on Allah as if you had no plans. ومن نصر من عند الله العزيز الحكيم. Of course, you can see Samia, Alim, Aziz, Hakim, Tawakkul. All of these are reinforcement of Tawheed, to tell you that this Tawheed thing is a lifelong process. We should never reach a point where you say, my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is good enough. I don't need to work on it. I don't need to improve it. I don't need to strengthen it. I don't need to get to know Allah more because I think I'm good. That's totally wrong. That's something that we have to resist. That's whisper from Shaitan that we have to resist. ليقطع طرفا من الذين كفروا أو يكبتهم فينقلبوا خائبين. If Allah, send you angels and make you victorious, it's help comes only from Allah, the mighty, the wise, and in order to cut off the flanks of the disbeliever army and frustrate them, to make them withdraw in total defeat. أو يكبتهم فينقلبوا خائبين. So Allah could have done this, has done it in Badr, could have done this. So Muslims are slowly, gradually are being led to understand what happened and why they lost the battle. Here there is a major principle that is reinforced, illustrated in this verse. I'd like you to pay attention to that, and probably one of those things that I encourage you to memorize. ليس لك من الأمر شيء. Allah talking to the Prophet ﷺ. Allah talking to the Prophet ﷺ, telling him, ليس لك من الأمر شيء. ليس لك من الأمر شيء means that whether Allah relents toward them or punish them is not for you to decide. That's very important. ليس لك من الأمر شيء أو يتوب عليهم أو يعذبهم فإنهم ظالمون. These are people who are fighting you. And Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ, it's not for you to decide their destiny. ليس لك من الأمر شيء, injected in the middle. The verse should continue. أو يكبتهم فينقلبوا خائبين أو يتوب عليهم أو يعذبهم فإنهم ظالمون. The Quran did not wait until it finishes the whole sentence. It injected ليس لك من الأمر شيء. That at the end of the day, this judging people, what Allah is going to do with those people, that's not your task. That's not your problem. That's not for you to. ليس لك من الأمر شيء أو يتوب عليهم أو يعذبهم فإنهم ظالمون. This is another way, as we're going to see in several verses in Quran, reinforcing no compulsion in religion, no judgmental attitude. It's not our business to what Allah is going to do with people. That's between Allah and those people. So, وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. This is a sentence I recommend that you keep it, you retain it. And لَيْسَ لَكَ مِنَ الْأَمْرِ شَيْءٌ, injected in between the different outcomes or the different scenarios that these people will be subject to. And in the middle is telling Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's not for you to decide. أو يتوب عليهم أو يعذبهم فإنهم ظالمون. These are the creation of Allah. These are the servants. If this is being told to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وما على إنما عليك البلاغ وما على رسول الله البلاغ فأنت تكره الناس. So many ways Quran is reinforcing that the role of the Prophet, never mind the followers, is just to represent Islam in the best possible way, convey it by example, be good ambassador of Islam. That's one thing. And second, to be able to articulate it in the best possible way whenever you have a chance. That's it. And your job ends there. And then that's with people. And then to maximize your positive impact on people and your maximum contribution to the greater good. That's the role of Muslim. And to be yourself, to be all you can be. To be all you can be, exemplary, good ambassador of Islam, embodiment of the teachings of Islam. That's your main goal, to develop yourself into a role model. And then to interact with people and be ready to articulate Islam in the best possible way if you have a chance. And leave it there. It's between them and Allah. They will decide and Allah will decide about them. Your job ends there. And then what? And then you try to have the maximum positive impact on people around you. All people. Anything useful that you can share with people. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ. That can help them in this life or in thereafter. And then you work with them for the greater good. And you also maximize your contribution to the greater good. So ليس لك من الأمر شيء أو يتوب عليهم أو يعذبهم فإنهم ظالمون. And then to reinforce this ليس لك من الأمر شيء ولله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض يغفر لمن يشاء ويعذب من يشاء والله غفور رحيم. I don't know where some Muslims get this idea that they can do this job, that they can decide who's going to be punished and who's going to be forgiven and who's going to go to heaven and who's going to go to hell. Like, it's exactly opposite to what Quran is saying. Exactly the opposite. Everything in the heavens and earth belongs to Allah. He forgives whoever He will and punishes whoever He will. Allah is most forgiving and merciful, subhanAllah. In the verse when it says that forgives whomever He will and punishes whoever He will, ends with forgiveness, ends with Wallahu Ghafurun Rahim. It's always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His mercy is outweighs His punishment. That's why in the surah that we recite in every rak'ah, and out of all His names and attributes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, and to be done twice, to be recited twice in the Bismillah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Out of all His names and attributes, He chose Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, and to be repeated twice in the surah that we recite in every rak'ah, because between Rahman and Rahim, that encompasses all dimensions of mercy. Let's finish these two verses. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون واتقوا النار التي أعدت للكافرين وأطيعوا الله والرسول لعلكم ترحمون. And one can say what riba has to do here. We're talking about the battle But that's the holistic approach of Quran. Riba will weaken, interest will weaken societies. Of course, and I'm not getting into any fiqh discussion about interest. I'm talking about at least the interest that is, there is a consensus about it, that it is forbidden. And we're talking about empowering a community for a mission and challenges. So talking about things that weaken them. لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة. It's part of the requirements and conditions for the community to be strong so that it can be victorious. So that so again, remember that all these verses are answering that question, why we were defeated by disbelievers. And Muslims before Battle of Uhud, they were taking it for granted that whenever we're gonna go and whenever we are attacked or we get involved in any fight, we're going to be victorious, even if we are lousy, even if we do no planning, even if we are, because Allah is with us. That's a very, very severe misunderstanding and misconception, and it had to be corrected, and they learned the lesson the hard way. So you believe, do not consume usurious interest doubled and redoubled. Be mindful of Allah so that you may prosper. Beware of the fire prepared for those who disbelieve, and obey Allah and the Prophet so that you may be given mercy. So again, now we're getting very close, because remember, the people, the soldier who violated the commandments of the Prophet. So reminding them that the factors that makes you strong and prepare you for victory are not just the military tactics, but it's a whole package. It's that community that is very connected together, so there is no abuse, there is no hatred, and then there is taqwa, and then there is obeying the Allah and the Prophet. All of this will bring that rahmah, that mercy, and that victory from Allah to you. And because some of these requirements were not met, that's why you did not get that help. I'm gonna stop here, inshallah, and we'll continue. I'm gonna focus on the main lessons that were because in addition to everything that we mentioned, there are 2 or 3 things that are very foundational in our religion. They were reinforced in this surah and in this incident. One of them is shura. The concept of shura was really reinforced in a very strong way and did not leave any room for the dictatorship or and then the concept of leadership, what makes some important characteristics of effective leadership, and then the fact that in order to qualify for the help of Allah, not only you have to do everything you can in your hand, but also your intention has to be pure. If you're coming out to fight for spoils of the war, then you are on your own. Allah will not support people fighting for spoils of the war. Yeah. So that intention has to be pure. So there is discussion again happened in Badr, after Badr, because we had that issue of Ghanaim, spoils, and now we have it again. Because that's the nature of the society at that time. These are tribes fighting each other forever, all the time for spoils, yani. And they were people were poor. Yeah. So concept of shura, concept of the leadership, and then the main, probably one of the major things is that things happen for a reason. There are rules that govern this universe, and you have to understand them, and you have to take advantage of them. And if you don't, you have only yourself to blame. This statement, after all these, building all this background, the answer to that question came قل هو من عندي أنفسكم. You only have yourself to blame. So leading all of this groundwork were culminated in this, which was yeah, 165. Just keep in mind how we are in 120, 121 we started. 165 when it was mentioned قل هو من عندي أنفسكم أولا ما أصابتكم. That's where the question was mentioned explicitly and the answer was given. أولا ما أصابتكم مصيبة قد أصبتم مثليها قلتم أن هذا قل هو من عندي أنفسكم. Forget about excuses, forget about blaming, forget about the, and then Quran, also another thing that was reinforced in the surah, the Quranic approach calls for confronting the brutal reality, or confronting the reality no matter how brutal it is. It's totally against denial. So Quran called this Battle of Uhud failure, and then disaster. So it did not find like good words and light words, no. And you only have yourself to blame. That's the Quranic approach. Nowadays, when you use that approach, they call it jald al-dhat, is self-weeping or whatever. No, that's the Quranic approach. The Quranic approach calls for you to confront the reality as is, and then to accept responsibility for what happened, and then to find solutions, and to learn your lessons for the future. That's the Islamic approach, which we are not even close to it. That's adopted by advanced societies. All advanced societies, that's what they do. They plan, they document everything, and when things go wrong, there is an investigation, who's responsible, pay the price, and lessons are learned. Unfortunately, that's not how we work. All right, I'm gonna stop here, so the floor is yours. If you have any questions or comments?
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Anushi.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Hello, sir.
So regarding the reinforcements of the angels that were provided, why did Allah provide them, knowing that He could have just given the Muslims victory without the reinforcements?
It says because لِتَطْمَئِنَّ قُلُوبُكُمْ, that to make you more comfortable. But again, Allah is not to be asked about why He did this. And He, even if it happened through different ways, we can ask the same question. لا يسألوا عما يفعلوا وهم يسألون. So the verse says that when you see that, because I think Muslims noticed that, made them more comfortable and more confident. But at the same time, in the same verse, it says that that was not the reason why you were victorious. Victory comes from Allah, and that's only the means. And this is something that we can take it further to generalize, that everything comes from Allah. I mean, even your paycheck when you receive it, or money that you earn in your business, that's a rizq from Allah. Now it comes through your company, but it's not your company is providing you. It's yeah, you have to work and you have to work hard, but you are seeking the rizq from Allah. Never think that anybody else is providing for you. It's like for health. I mean, you go to the doctor to get the medicine, but you seek the cure from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same thing here. Those angels were to help you, but victory came from Allah.
Jazakallah khair.
وإياكم إن شاء الله. Any other questions or comments?
I guess, Dr. Anushi, the team does not have questions. I know Ramadan is coming up very soon. Anything you would like to say? Recommendations, how to prepare?
Wallahi, that's a good question, and it's really the right time for it. I don't know. I mean, Ramadan is one of the things that we still don't have the full understanding, let's say, of it, and we're not taking full advantage of it. It's like the Salah, yeah. It's like the Salah. We're still not taking full advantage. We're not leveraging the Salah as we should because of the quality, because of the understanding, because it became a routine task that we have to do, and it's no longer the private time with Allah in which you are coming to seek support and help and put your needs before Allah and your sins to be forgiven, and it's the opportunity for you to express your love to Allah and to thank Him. Salah has lost most of this. That's why we're not getting all the benefit. Ramadan is the same thing. Ramadan and the fasting has lost a lot of its substance. So we are mostly now keeping the skeleton, which is the fasting itself, even though the fasting is a tool. The fasting is a tool. It's the vehicle. So we turn the means into goals. Fasting is the means, and the hadith are clear that says that if you don't achieve the purpose of fasting, there is no point in fasting to begin with. That's what Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned in a couple of hadith, that if you're not going to stop from qawl al-zuri wal-amal bih, I mean doing things, wrong things, there is no point in stopping eating and drinking, because that's not the purpose. That's to make you stronger so that you can refrain from other things, so that you can intensify your worship. And now it is well established. If we have doctors here, they can confirm that it's well established now that fasting is strengthen the body, and there are people who are on treating diseases with fasting, and the intermittent fasting is so now common, becomes more and more common, that people who fast for a long time, and the benefits of that on the body and the health. So what I'm saying is, unless we fix that, unless we go back to put things in perspective, that Ramadan is a season. Ramadan, we should approach it like, those seasonal businesses, people who make all their money during summer or during a particular season. That's how we should approach now. We should approach as a season. It's basically where you're going to make all your money and saving for the whole year during that month. So basically, you should be have that sense of urgency, racing against the clock from the Maghrib of the day before until the Maghrib of the last day. And of course, if you manage to do that, then you'll be in a good position to continue. Maybe not at the same level, but also you want soft landing. You don't want free fall. You don't want on the 8th day you drop completely, but you should try to keep as much of those gains that you made in Ramadan as possible. Your relationship with Allah is going to improve. You're going to worship more. Your relationship with the Quran, inshallah, will improve. You're going to be probably more generous in sadaqah. You're going to have better control on yourself and on your senses. that was not meant to be only in Ramadan. It was meant for you. It's like we know now, it is well established that any bad habits that you can stay away from for 3 weeks, they put it on 21 days or 4 weeks, you can get rid of it. And any good habit that you can force it on yourself for 3 to 4 weeks, it can become really a habit of yours, then, anything that you acquire. So we should approach like this. And I have a month. The clock is going to start ticking from day one. This is a month comes with so many opportunities. Rewards are multiplied. You are in much better mood for worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No distractions. Of course, no distraction from food and drink, which also should allow you to eliminate any other distractions. Because if you are refraining from this essential distraction or essential thing, need, and it is halal, you should be more able and stronger to restrain yourself from doing something that is haram, that is not necessary, that is not a necessity. So you, by staying away from eating and drinking and remembering how much effort you're doing and sacrifice, that will give you a lot of strength and inspiration to stay away from anything else, because anything else is less important. And then by making all these efforts, you have a lot at stake. I mean, we are not going to be silly to make all these efforts and end up spoiling our fasting with nonsense. That's going to be very silly. So you're making all the sacrifice, all these efforts, that will give you also an incentive to protect your fasting. I'm doing all of this. I'm not going to allow anything to, even if the hadith goes, even if somebody tried to pick a fight with you, you say, no, I'm fasting. I'm not willing to spoil my fasting because I'm making a lot of efforts. So I'm going to guard my eyesight. I'm going to really control things because I'm making a lot of efforts, and I don't want this to be spoiled. So have that. Prepare. Planning is very important. Ramadan planning happens before, from now, and I always in Jumu'ah before Ramadan keep emphasizing the need for a plan and schedule. This time is very precious in Ramadan and very strict, because Ramadan there is a time for iftar at a specific time, and there are time for suhoor. You lose that flexibility, and then of course you need to sleep enough and then work and etc. So you are in a very tight schedule. If you want to take a full advantage of Ramadan, your monthly schedule has to be developed beforehand, and you stick to it very strictly. So plan on what is it that I'm going to achieve in Ramadan. I mean, what are my goals? I see Ramadan is revolving around 4 major items. It's a worship. Intensify your worship, quality and quantity. Pray as much as possible during the day and during the night, whenever you can. That's one. Quran. It's the month of Quran. If you really want to fix your relationship with the Quran once and for all, you will not find a better opportunity than Ramadan. Fix your relationship with the Quran. Have that start your lifelong journey of studying the Quran in Ramadan. So with taking notes and searching and etc. So start that, and then hopefully it will stay with you after Ramadan. So it is the salah and the worship in general, Quran, dhikr. Keep your tongue busy with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and contemplation and reflection and etc. And it is the month of dua. I mean, these are blessed times. We have time before iftar, you have time before fajr, you have the time while you are fasting. So many occasions for dua. I personally usually approach Ramadan with a long list of dua, and I keep doing it several times a day to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how desperate I need it, and begging that's a good idea. And pray for yourself, pray for those who passed away. They need it badly, especially if you have parents who passed away. That's, you can really make a big impact on them through your dua in Ramadan. Pray for so pray for yourself and pray for your family, etc. And pray. So, and these are mentioned in the verses that talks about Ramadan. يعني. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعان. That's an invitation for you to make dua in Ramadan. And then of course صدقة. يعني صدقة, because probably you have a chance to sympathize with people who are hungry, not by choice, يعني, by force, يعني. And hungry not most of the time or often. So if we stay hungry for several hours and then we have free to eat and we have some people are really don't. So that probably will make you more compassionate and more sympathetic. The Prophet ﷺ was generous all year long, but he was the most generous in Ramadan. Something that I recommend all the time, any habit, any good habit that you want to acquire, this is your best chance. Because in Ramadan, you are really in very good shape, spiritually, and very strong. So if I can abstain from food and drink for so many hours, there is nothing that I cannot, abandon if it is a bad habit. And if there is a good habit, that's the time you can force on yourself. Let's say someone was not praying sunnah after the fard. That's the best time you can. First day is not going to be easy, second day, etc. But it can become, let's say someone whose relationship with the Quran was not very good, was not in good shape. That's so many, any good habit, even life habits, waking up early or waking up at Fajr and not going back to sleep, or any good habit that you want to acquire, this is the best time. Any bad habit that you want to abandon, you will not find a better opportunity.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
جزاك الله يا شيخ. بارك الله فيك. So I have a tiny question but is really important in our life. So about the dhikr, which is the reality of the dhikr. Is it dhikr just tasbih, subhanallah, Allahu Akbar, or recitation of the Quran? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we go through the ayat that mentioned dhikr, so the main thing that it jumped to our mind is وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the salat, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ. This is the first thing. The second thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentioned in Hajj and process in Hajj, وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ أَوْ أَشَدَّ ذِكْرًا. So this it's like we have many sides or many angle of vision about the dhikr, the reality of dhikr. What do you think about the dhikr? What's the reality of the dhikr?
Well, جزاك الله خير. Well, like any other worship, there is an essence and there is the means. So salah, for example, the essence of salah is khushu'. The means is the ruku', the sujood, etc. So you may do the ruku' and sujood, then you get nothing out of your salah. Why? Because you did not concentrate. Fasting, same thing. The vehicle for fasting is to stay away from food and drink. But the purpose is taqwa. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So that's why Rasul ﷺ told about those who don't abstain from backbiting, and they may as well eat. Yani. There is no point, yani, because that's not the purpose. So dhikr is the same thing. What we say, words, if the heart is not there, there is no point. If the heart, dhikr is mainly the presence of Allah in your life, like you are aware, mindful of Allah. There is that connection. And then there is a relationship, there are feelings that you want to express. That's even salah, by the way. Salah, all the worship is expression of feeling. And that's why if we don't have the love of Allah and the gratitude, the worship comes very poor quality, because the worship is meant to be expression of something that is there. Like you love Allah, you are so grateful to Allah, and you want to express that.
Like
So
a
Allah
real
gave
feeling.
real feeling.
Real.
So Allah gave us these means to express that, to express our gratitude to Him, to express أعملوا آل داود شكرا, to express. I mean, you feel that Allah has given you so much and you appreciate that. So how do you express? Sadaqah. So sadaqah becomes an expression. Salah becomes an expression. Fasting is an expression. The problem, because we don't work on those feelings, so the expression comes weak. So it becomes a routine, no longer an expression, because you cannot express something that you don't have. And the problem is Muslim, they don't realize is that this is a cycle. You can make it synergetic cycle. You work on your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will improve your worship. The better worship will improve your relationship with Allah, and you will go with no end. But it's a synergetic cycle. On the other hand, it's the other way around. If your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is weak, your worship will be poor quality, and that will not help you with the relationship of Allah, and you will stay in that vicious cycle. So it's either way. Now we want to turn it into synergetic cycle. You work, and the best way, it's not mystery. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man araf Allah ahabba." I mean, He gave us. We don't want to accept it. It's not because somebody says, "But and I don't have those feelings." No, those feelings, you have to work on them. They're not going to come by themselves. And how do you work on them? You get to know Allah. The more you know Allah, the more these feelings will be there. The more love, the more gratitude, the more tawakkul, all of these will be reinforced by. Now, how do you know Allah? How do you get to know Allah? Quran, mainly, and the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, the model of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, these are the best ways to get to know Allah, what He likes, what He doesn't like, etc. That's provided that you are motivated, you're looking for ways to please Allah. That's the big difference between somebody coming to the Quran to know what can I do to express those feelings, and between someone coming with no feelings and with no objective. So the dhikr, presence, it's contemplation. I mean, if you really do contemplation without, in a sincere way, it's better than saying words without the presence of your heart. I mean, يتفكرون تفكر. التفكر عبادة. تفكر في خلق السماوات والأرض. يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا على جنوب. يذكرون Allah means that you stay connected to Allah.
That's it.
Be mindful. we should try to maximize the time when we are mindful of Allah, and minimize the time when we forget. And we try to go back quickly to reconnect. It's like a cell phone, you lose signal, comes back, same thing. You should try to be connected to Allah all the time, mindful. Now the uttering of the words, that's add on. Most important thing is to be mindful. That's why I like translating taqwa to mindfulness of Allah rather than fear, because that reduces. Be mindful of Allah. Have Allah present in your life. That whether you are driving, Allah is with you wherever you go, and you are aware and you are mindful of that. And dhikr by words. If that connection is there and that presence, great. But if that connection is not there, then what you're doing. There are people who use the masbaha and their mind is somewhere else, and maybe watching TV or watching your cell phone, and then what kind of dhikr is this?
So because maybe the mentioning, when you Sada Sophia, they said ما تقرر في اللسان ما تكرر في اللسان تقرر في القلب. So anything that's repeated a lot in your tongue will be established in your heart. So,
it's not, for sure, it's not necessary. I mean, if the heart is not present,
exactly. So you have to prepare your heart first.
May not produce any effect.
You have to prepare your heart first to build this and to strengthen your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by those tools, about repeating or something like that, it helps a lot.
Yes, and I encourage all of us to exercise something called munajat. Munajat is private time with Allah. It's basically you close the door and you by yourself in your room and have that time, talk to Allah, astaghfar, make dua, etc. Make it private time with Allah. If you do that for a short time, it's better than making those 1,000 times dhikr and 1,000 without the present and while you are distracted. Munajat is a very good tafakkur. Tafakkur is praise. Tafakkur في خلق السماوات والأرض. That's you try to learn science, learn how this universe function and how does it work. Does it work at least at the basic level? I mean, you don't need to be expert. Both the universe, the human body, that makes you also very appreciate more and more the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the dhikr and tafakkur were mentioned in the same verse in Ali Imran. يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا على جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض.
سبحان الله.
جزاكم الله خير.
بارك الله
إن شاء الله.
شكرا
إن
جزيلا.
شاء الله. So we'll meet next Sunday إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله.